What's up guys and girls, welcome to another video. In this video we're going to go over the entire timeline of Faye and God of War. This includes 2018, Ragnarok, the comics, novels, lore and legends, and some interviews. This is a heavy endeavor and a lot of work to put together, so if you enjoy this type of content, I appreciate a like and a subscription. Let's get right into it. Our story starts 200 years before the events of God of War 2018. Brock and Sindri create Mjolnir and gifted it to Odin himself. Odin then gives the hammer to Thor. 25 years later, Thor, following Odin's orders, starts to attack the giants and the Aesir gods, shifting the balance of power towards the Aesir. The giants fled Midgard and returned to Jotunheim, becoming refugees in their own land. One giant stayed behind in Midgard. 41 years later, Brock and Sindri worked in solitude. The guilt they felt over the creation of their hammer made them want to create a new weapon. A weapon to rival the hammer, and that weapon's name was Leviathan Axe. 1 year after the completion of the axe, they gave it to a female giant. That giant's name was Faye the Just. Faye, with Leviathan Axe in hand, became a powerful warrior who will screw with the Aesir and mess with their plans over the years, and had several conflicts with them. In God of War Ragnarok, we heard of a few of those stories. She met with a dwarf named Durlin, and together they tried to cause a rebellion, but sadly it eventually failed.
In a mine somewhere. Some friends of ours said that you could help.
Where did you get... You chop her head off with that too, eh?
She was my wife.
Dina and I wondered where she went after our little coup here failed.
Failed? Yeah, jump, jump.
Failed?
Faye is dead.
While in Vanaheim, she shared a drink with Thor, talked with him, and eventually fought with Thor himself, creating a frozen lightning strike that you can actually find in Vanaheim.
You owe us a story first.
A battle. Thor and this woman. Red hair. They tore through the town. The rage between them was terrifying.
Thor was enraged. I'm not surprised.
No. The warrior. She was furious and fought like it. Thor was drunk, sloppy, but she was drunk on something else. Rage. It was out of control. I saw her fury with every swing of her axe. Their battle destroyed this land.
These stories, I have known Faye's anger, but never to this extent.
We hide the parts we're ashamed of, brother.
Mom must have hated Thor for what he did to the giants. Maybe that's why she did what she did.
She took part in the destruction of this valley. That would take a rage I thought her incapable of.
Perhaps you and Faye had more in common than you thought.
We both had secrets. But that kind of anger, I never saw Faye in that light.
Even the brightest among us carry darkness, brother.
During this time, Faye actually met Freya, very briefly, but a meeting did happen.
It was Faye who fought Thor in this valley.
The gloves and the fair hair. This warrior reminds me of someone.
What is it?
I once knew a warrior like the one he spoke of. She was extraordinary. I never realized that the warrior could have been Faye.
You met Faye?
She sounds like the woman I knew. She didn't carry that axe, but yes. I believe I may have met your wife.
It seems there's much I never knew about her. And now she is gone.
Maybe. But her story here isn't finished.
Faye was a formidable opponent against the Aesir, running many of their plans into the ground and fought for a very long time. 94 years after she got the Leviathan Axe, she reached a point in her life where she didn't want to fight anymore. A lot has changed in the Norse world. Freya curses Balder and left Odin. Brock and Sindri split apart. Odin locked up and tortured Mimir. Tyr disappeared without a trace. Odin created a new traveler religion, and many other events that shaped the Norse world. Faye just decided not to fight anymore and was exhausted. The ones who knew of her legend didn't know what happened to her, as she just simply disappeared. Faye started to wander the forest. This will be the moment she meets a new god. This god name was Kratos. According to lore and legends, Kratos has been living with creatures and monsters alone. When she first met Kratos, they actually fought. However, their fight ended as soon as it started. Kratos and Faye were done fighting. From this point on, she will go by a new name. That name was Faye.
Because they're both warriors who have reached a point in their life where they don't want to fight anymore because they both see through the reasons of why they've been fighting.
Kratos and Faye eventually started talking. Faye never said anything about her origin, where she's from, and Kratos believed that she was just another mortal Midgard woman, and didn't notice her age at all. However, Kratos, on the other hand, would tell her about his past, who he was, and what he's done. And Faye didn't care, and saw potential in him to be better. 5 years later after they met, and 35 years before the events of God of War 2018, Kratos built a hut for the both of them. Faye marked off the area with a protection stave, which was her yellow handprint on trees. Doing this will hide their location from gods, giants, and monsters. They lived peaceful lives together. She truly loved Kratos and knew he could be better. She loved every part of him, his attitude, even his grunting. Now, this is where the timeline gets a bit confusing. Faye was always meant to be a mysterious character. We know at some point before Atreus was born, she saw visions of the future. She foresaw that they would call the child Loki, even though Kratos wanted to name him Atreus. We also know before Atreus was born that Faye went around marking the path that would eventually lead them to Jotunheim years down the line. We know this meeting happened before he was born because of an interview that Cory Barlog did with Alana Pierce way back in the day, and Alana asked him, did this happen before he was born? And Cory did say yes. Here's that small snippet interview.
This is the thing I've been talking to you the most about, is how the timeline works.
Yes.
She
you're digging
presumably
into that one.
went to Jotunheim before he was born?
Yes.
Before?
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
So at some point after they met, before Atreus was born, she had went to Jotunheim and marked their path along the way. And when she made it to Jotunheim, she saw the mural the giants created. And she destroyed the third panel that showed Kratos and Atreus their fates. Kratos died and Atreus serving Odin. She believed that they could change it and just didn't want their fates to be bound by what was on the mural. This is why at the end of 2018, when we went to Jotunheim, that third panel was broken. Although we would see it anyways because of Angrboda's depictions of the future in Ironwood, Faye never wanted them to see it. During their time together, Faye helped wolves and other creatures as well. 22 years after Kratos built the hut for the both of them, that's when Faye got pregnant and they had a son together. Kratos wanted to name him Atreus, but of course, Faye called him Loki and called him Loki to her own people. After Atreus was born, a few minor things happened. Faye pleaded with Kratos to open his heart, as we saw in flashbacks. Faye often visited a seer in the God of War prequel comics and took a young Atreus with her. Faye would tell that seer who Kratos is, and that seer would give her life later to protect Atreus. It's hinted heavily that the seer knew this would happen. Faye would leave for long periods of time as well. Faye created a magical bow for Atreus and helped him use it. She made it bigger than his size and said that he will grow into it. This bow they would eventually name Talon Bow. She would watch him train and give him many encouraging words. She often cooked for her family as well. When Kratos was constantly testing his own anger and trying to keep his anger down, he would come home and tell Faye all about his struggles. We also learned at the beginning of God of War 2018 that Faye also taught Atreus how to hunt. But she never taught him how to kill. Kratos, later on down the line, would make it his responsibility to teach Atreus how to kill. According to the God of War novel, Faye also trained a pet falcon. This falcon never really went to Atreus and seemingly didn't like him, but Faye trained it to hunt and fight ravens. At the end of God of War 2018, according to the novel, there was a moment when two ravens, which is Odin's closest ones, the same ones we saw in God of War Ragnarok, they were searching for Kratos and Atreus, and Kratos and Atreus was hiding from them. However, Faye's pet falcon returned and attacked these two ravens, pushing them away and having the pair go free. Some other things that happened, when most importantly, is that she told Atreus many stories about the world that surrounds him. Adventures, journeys, characters, creatures, and monsters, and everything he will eventually need to know about the world. But one day, Faye seemed weaker. She became quiet, still, and unlike herself. Atreus tried to use these powers to see how she was feeling, and she jokingly asked if he was one of Odin's spies. But there was no doubt a huge change in Faye. Faye will tell Kratos to chop the trees down that protected the forest, and to spread her ashes on the highest peak on the realms, as she knew her time was coming. She knew the highest peak was Jotunheim all along, and knew the journey the two would take. Before she died though, she told Kratos to chop down all the trees that had her protection stave on it, and Kratos of course honored this request. This is the reason why Baldur would later up show and force their journey to happen. He knew Kratos so well and knew that he would find some reason to not go on the journey, that the reason why she told Kratos to chop down the trees is so that Baldur could jumpstart it, whether Kratos wanted to or not. This is how powerful she was when it came to Foresight. Even though Faye is gone, she did have some presence in God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. A part of her spirit was still inside of the light, and when Kratos stepped in, she saw many visions of the future and even heard Atreus' thoughts in the past. She showed him various areas that he would visit even though he hadn't made it there yet, like Helheim and Jotunheim. After the events of 2018, Faye would once again reach out to Kratos, putting a green mark on his head in one of his dreams. Also, some of the other dreams he has, they blur the line between plot and actual flashbacks from Kratos' past. It could be assumed that some of these dreams and flashbacks does have Faye there, pushing Kratos forward, leaving him many messages, and trying to really help him. Some of the flashbacks and dreams that he has, is very specific to the moment that he's in. So it's very odd to say what is a flashback and what is Faye's spirit reaching out. But it can be both at the same time, and that Kratos is just thinking of these memories. All we know for sure is that the very first dream he had, when Faye put the green mark on him, that was actually Faye's spirit somehow reaching out to Kratos. And this is going to be the end of this video. Let me know what you think. If you made it this far, please tell me your favorite thing about Faye, or something that's very interesting. And of course, if I missed anything, please let me know in the comment section down below. Did you like Faye? Did you not? Did you want to see more? Let me know. Thank you for watching. Deuces.